Tonight, I'm going to present to you the three biggest blunders, presidential blunders, in American history. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So I learned a lot writing this book. And when we got all the information, you could then compare and contrast different presidents and what they did. So the third worst blunder in American history was committed by James Madison. Okay? Now you remember that Madison took over after Thomas Jefferson. And at the time he took over, America was still very weak. It didn't have a big army or navy. It was moving west at a slow pace. It was established as a democracy, but we really didn't have a lot of power here. The British knew that, and they were boarding American sea vessels, and they were kidnapping men and impressing them, not impressing like somebody does something good. Impressment means they're forcing them into the British Navy. It was outrageous. It was an absolute outrage. Now, that began in 1811, and it went on and on and on and on. And finally, Congress said to Madison, hey, you got to do something about this. So Madison foolishly declared war on Great Britain. Now, why do I say foolishly? We were right to do it. We just didn't have the Navy. So when we looked into this, the war was going to be fought on the seas mostly because we couldn't invade England. We didn't have the power to do that. And the British did have the power to invade us, which they did. But here was the big stat. So the USA at the time basically had 12 warships. 12. The British had 34. Okay? So the British just came on in and they burned down Washington, D.C., including the White House, causing Jemmy Madison, that's what his nickname was, to run for his life. And they burned the whole town down. Now, subsequently, the British got tired of fighting this war because Andrew Jackson kicked their butt in New Orleans after the war treaty was signed, and Admiral Perry beat them in the Great Lakes. But this was a war that never should have been fought that way. Okay? They should have built their Navy. Madison should have built the U.S. Navy up first. That was a colossal blunder. In the end, there were significant casualties, all right? Americans lost 2,260 dead and 4,500 wounded, and plus, all the other casualties that nobody even counts. British had substantial casualties as well, about 5,000 dead and wounded on the British side. All right, that's blunder number one. Blunder number two is the Vietnam War. Now, this is an amazing thing. I lived through this, so I'm very, very interested. So in November 1963, John F. Kennedy is assassinated in Dallas. Before he was killed, he wrote an order that the U.S. would withdraw its forces from Vietnam over a period of time. Kennedy did not want to fight that war, primarily because Dwight Eisenhower, who Kennedy used as a secret advisor, the president before Kennedy, said, stay out of this one. Okay, this is in Korea. This is a whole different ballgame. As soon as Lyndon Johnson took over, Kennedy, he rescinded the order and flooded Vietnam with American forces. But Johnson had no strategy. Okay, there was no war strategy to win this. And Johnson lied to the American people by saying that the North Vietnamese were attacking us when Johnson himself didn't believe that. And we will prove that in confronting the president. So this is an enormous blunder that resulted in almost 60,000 Americans being killed, many of them draftees. And we're not even counting the Agent Orange afterward. And more than 100,000 wounded, over there, and badly. This, for what? Okay, now, the communists lost more than 1 million, but so what? The communists were the invaders. They did invade. It was their fault, not ours. We were trying to defend the South Vietnamese who didn't want to be communists, just like we defended the South Koreans. It was the same thing. But we didn't have any strategy to win that Vietnam War. So at the end, and it lasted on and on and on and on. I mean, we're talking 1963 to 1975, 12 years. What a blunder. Johnson didn't know what he was doing. And he had to quit. He had to resign because it was so divided. You know, it divided America. It was like, but when you see how befuddled and ridiculous Lyndon Johnson was during that, it's just crazy. Now, why isn't that the biggest blunder in American history? Because Joe Biden has topped it. He has topped it with the open border. So the worst blunder in American history is opening the southern border for no reason whatsoever. Remember, there is no reason that President Biden destroyed immigration law. None. There's no benefit to us. That's the first thing. So we estimate, and you know, we're pretty responsible here, that in the almost 3.5 years Biden's been president, more than 10 million foreign nationals have crossed into this country, and now they're here unsupervised. We don't know where they are or what they're doing. The courts have collapsed. They can't hear the asylum cases. Crime is on the rise in many places. And don't give me this, you know, Americans commit more crimes than the migrants do. Oh, so what? You add the migrant crime to the problem we have. That's ridiculous. Okay, so not only that, but we're locking in now in 3.5 years under Biden, the cost of this illegal migration that, again, the president did alone, no Congress, none of that, is now $500 billion, $500 billion. And that's federal, state, and local. And every day it just explodes because it's still happening. There is no modification at the border, none. And Biden has a nerve to blame Republicans for that when the bill that they offered up, Schumer's bill, was ridiculous and wouldn't have stopped anything. It's unbelievable. Everything is expensive these days, you know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars and consumer prices higher than ever. If the government continues its printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532.